I think what I love about cave diving, first of all, it's the most challenging type of diving that you can do in terms of your skills as a diver. Your skills have to be at a very high level. In terms of your mental and psychological abilities to be able to dive safely and comfortably in this environment. And the other factor is the sense of exploration, of going somewhere that very few people have ever been before. And for me, that's really what drives humanity forward in innovation, in expanding our horizons, being able to do original exploration in whatever field. I think the most important mindset for a cave diver is to be calm, to be cool, to be collected, and to be calculating. So you can't let your emotions take control. You can't react instinctively. Everything has to be thought out because you are in an alien environment. You are completely reliant on your life support system, whether that's open circuit scuba or some kind of closed circuit rebreathing apparatus, which means that a lot of the instinctual responses that we would have to dangerous situations don't work in this environment anymore. In fact, they'd very quickly get you killed. So first and foremost, it's important to be comfortable, and comfort comes through training and through experience. And you need to build up the complexity of your dives. You need to build up the difficulty of your dives in a step-by-step process so that you're always operating within your comfort zone. Because to be honest, when you're exploring, a lot of times you're on the edge. You don't really know what to expect. That's why it's exploration. Who knows what's around the next corner? So sometimes, the cave environment can throw a curveball at you. And if you don't have the necessary skills, if you don't have the necessary experience to be able to stay calm, to be able to think in a logical, systematic fashion, then things could go quickly wrong. And it's super important that you can remain analytical at all times. So there are various different aspects of being able to train to be able to maintain control of your mind. Meditation is obviously a good thing that you can get into, and very often I'll actually spend some time visualizing a dive before doing it, particularly if it's going to be a big dive. So I'm mentally rehearsing what I'm going to do, and I'm in a calm state of mind getting into the water and during the dive. For me, that's a very relaxing environment anyway. I spend a lot of time in the cave, so it's almost like meditation. I talk about Zen cave diving, and that's how it feels for me. My heart rate goes down, my respiration rate goes down. I'm always very, very calm, very methodical when I'm cave diving, and that helps to control everything. Other things I've done in my life, various sports, martial arts, they all help with the appropriate mindset to be a good cave diver, building up that experience, having some bad experiences which you're able to work through over the years and building on those and understanding how you got into that situation, how you dealt with it then, how you might deal with it better in the future. All those things, obviously, that experience you have helps you, if things do actually start going wrong. The key thing is, rather than to be able to deal with problems, is to prevent them happening in the first place. So to be preemptive rather than reactive. And again, that comes to experience, through knowing exactly what to do, when to do it, so that you can actually avoid any problems. All the experience we have, they don't just apply in one area. We can see how they translate across sort of like many, many different aspects of our life. And certainly I think cave diving has made me a calmer, perhaps more rational person, a more controlled person. So perhaps in the past I might have reacted to situations or circumstances on a more emotional level. Now I'm able to take a step back and look at it with a more rational, calmer mindset. I think what motivates me to continue exploring and to keep on cave diving is the fact that it's changing all the time. I change as a person, I change as a diver, I'm constantly evolving. The type of exploration I'm doing is constantly evolving, and that feeling of what's around the next corner, and there's always another corner to look around, and so it's that constant drive to discover new things about the environment you're in, but also to discover new things about yourself as well. And every time I get to a certain level and I think, okay, I kind of like, I have a lot of experience, I have a lot of knowledge, I kind of got this now. All of a sudden, if I'm at that level for a while, all of a sudden I'll jump up and I'll realize there was whole nother level of skill, of understanding, of awareness and ability that I didn't even realize existed before. And it's almost like a quantum leap. And that's happened 3 or 4 times over my cave diving career, and it still happens to me. So I'm still learning all the time, and I'm still evolving both as a person and a diver, and that's what keeps it new and exciting and fresh for me. You know, achieving mastery a lot of times, it's not necessarily about your natural ability or the skills you have, it's just about putting in time. You know, if you do something for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, eventually you're going to achieve mastery in it. Just because you achieve mastery doesn't mean that's when your learning stops. That's actually when your learning starts. Because mastery for me is a very good understanding of the overall picture and knowing how much there is still to learn. I think a lot of it just comes down to discipline and repetition and experience and just going out there and just doing things over and over and over again. Especially if you do it with an aware mind. If you have your mind switched on while you're doing it, and so you're receptive to feedback and critique and self-analysis and everything else. I think that's the key difference. And I actually like to see mastery in all activities. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be just hitting a nail into a piece of wood. If you watch someone who's done that their whole life, it's a joy and a pleasure to watch because they do it with such economy of effort. They make it look so easy, it's fluid, it looks completely natural. And that's how mastery should look in any activity, and that's how I want my diving to feel, that's how I want my diving to look. And that constant attempt to achieve mastery is what keeps me improving, keeps me motivated, keeps me excited about it, and makes me a better diver. A big part of my cave diving life is also teaching cave diving, not just exploring in the caves. And for me, the fact that I teach cave diving makes me a better explorer. And the fact that I explore as well makes me a better teacher. So I see those two things as going hand in hand rather than separate. I have a great love for the caves and for cave diving and obviously for the exploration. And it's great for me to be able to pass that love of what I do onto other people, to be able to give them the benefit of my years and years of experience when I actually teach a course. So I can condense those like 18, 20 years of cave diving into a very short time period. So they don't have to make all the mistakes I made along that journey. I can accelerate their learning process tremendously. And the benefit I get from it is that I'm learning from my students all the time as well. In life, you should never ever be standing still. If you are, you know, you're not learning, you're not evolving, you're not enriching your life. And so I think to enrich your life, you need to be actually getting your experiences, moving forward, changing things. And that's why people say some of the most dramatic changes in their life are times where they move house or they end one relationship and get into a new relationship. Because I think that those are times where you get out of a rut. And maybe that can be a little bit scary, and sometimes it is, but at the same time, you open up a whole new world of possibilities, new experiences, new sights, new sounds, new smells, new tastes, and this is another thing, travel. Travel is important, whether that's physical travel, going to different places in the world, going to different cultures, experiencing new things, or internal travel, learning new languages or teaching yourself new skills, learning music or doing a martial art for the first time that you've never done before, opening a book and transporting your mind into someone else's imagination. Those are growth experiences. But it's something that you have to be interactive with. It's not something where you can just sit there and consume, because that's less enriching, because you're less involved. So the experiences, I think, where you gain the most out of are the interactive experiences, where you're actually out there doing things. From the point of view of exploration, side mount works very well because it's a very flexible system and you have a lot of redundancy built into it because you have 2 separate cylinders. So even if you lost one cylinder, you still should have enough gas if you've done your gas blowing properly to get you safely back out of the cave with the remaining cylinder. You can remove them easily and quickly underwater so you can get into smaller areas. Because they're on your side rather than your back, you can get into much lower areas. So for exploration, where you have no idea what's around the corner. It gives you the opportunity to meet whatever challenges are presented. So a very, very flexible, very safe system to use. Now, the particular system that I designed and used myself came about because of the dives I was doing at the time, which was around about 2007, where I was trying to make a connection between the world's two longest underwater caves at that time, which was Sakaktoon and Nahotchna Chich. And to make that connection, I was diving in very, very small cave. I was doing a lot of side mount and no mount dives. No mount dives are where you're actually not wearing the tanks at all, where you're pushing them in front of you or pulling them behind you. And all the equipment that I had at the time was not really fit for purpose. And I was actually getting caught up a lot. I was getting trapped in the cave. I was damaging a lot of my equipment. So what I decided to do was design equipment specifically to meet my needs. And as I say, necessity is the mother of invention. And I started off with a blank piece of paper, just wrote down all the things that I needed from the side mount, no mount system. And out of that, and after lots of trial and error and lots of time spent in the water seeing what worked and what didn't work, I came up with a very simple, very streamlined, very safe equipment configuration that allowed me to do dives that I just couldn't do in the past. So, I mean, ultimately in the future, I see it going two ways. Either no one's ever going to be doing any diving at all anymore because they're just going to be doing virtual reality diving. So someone else has gone and done the dives and now they're in an immersive 3D experience, like hardwired into their brains. Alternatively, maybe they're going to come up with some way of being able to do away with most of the equipment where you could almost extract the oxygen from the water around you and you'd have some kind of gill that you'd be able to use, and you could do away with all the heavy tanks or large bulky rebreather apparatus. I think that's probably still a long way away. I mean, they do have liquid breathing mediums. They do have various different concepts for minimizing or reducing the equipment you take, but that's still a fair ways in the future, I think.